Welcome back to the Means Report. We are so glad that you stayed with us. A great first segment with Captain Scott Peoples talking about the crime issues in Richmond County. And now we want to move from crime to politics, another issue that is always in the spotlight in our community. And we're going to look at the Augusta Richmond County Commission race, and a big one coming up in District 2. Voters are going to go to the polls in November, and you're going to have to decide who the representative is going to be in District 2. Will it be the existing commissioner, Corey Johnson, or will it be former District 2 commissioner and former Mayor Pro-Tem Marion Williams? That is your decision upcoming, and we are privileged to be joined by both gentlemen here today on the set of the Means Report. And Marion Williams, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Brad, for the invitation.
And Corey Johnson, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you, Brad.
I'll start with just a very basic question, and Commissioner Johnson, we'll start with you. Why do you want to be reelected? Why do you want 4 more years?
Well, Brad, it's actually been an enjoyable, first 3 years. My first term, of course, it was very challenging, a learning curve, but primarily we have a lot of work to do in District 2, and of course I've started some of the work, and of course I want to continue to finish throughout my term if I'm elected into the second term there. But I think the people like the momentum that we have now, and I think one of the biggest things is when you get the momentum going, you want to keep it going, and I think we're on the path to getting a lot of great things done. And so these are things that not only I'm looking forward to, but I think the people want, and I want to deliver that. So I need to be back in office to continue to deliver those things that they asked me to do.
Marion Williams, why wasn't 8 years enough? Why do you want to go back?
Well, it's because the people needs a voice, I think, Brad. I was fortunate to serve 8 years. I missed 1 meeting in 8 years as a county commissioner. There are some things that have been put in place that have not been completed. I had to come out because of term limits. You can only serve 2 terms. And in that 2 terms, I think I did an outstanding job. I think the people realized that I was a voice for them. I was tried and tested, and I stood for what I believe was right.
Let me ask you this. 4 years ago, you endorsed Corey Johnson to be your replacement, and he won. Why not let him continue, as he mentioned, his momentum and keep going? And perhaps maybe you could name some of those things that aren't being done, some things you'd like to see completed.
Well, and that sounds good. That sounds like that'd be a great thing. I had to come out. I would have continued to run, but since there was a term limit, I had to wait that period. I had to set out for those 3 years, and it wasn't for those 3 years. But I endorsed Corey when they came in. But there are some things that I learned. I'm certified with the Georgia Municipal Association. I'm certified with the National League of Cities. I was tried and tested, like I said, for commissioner for 8 years. My district, which is Corey District, we got a lot of needs in that district. And if you don't address those needs, and we've been waiting for years to get something done, we got a lot accomplished, but there's so much more. You just left talking to Scott Peoples about all the burglaries and the murders and stuff like that, and our district is saturated with that. So somebody's got to get in there and kind of stir some stuff up to try to get some things done in there.
All right, Corey Johnson, I'll let you talk. You haven't just been a glorified seat warmer for the last 4 years, keeping this gentleman's chair warm till he could run again. Talk about some of the things that you've accomplished and some of the things you'd like to see done. We'll start with crime. What can be done to get a better police presence out there and help fight crime?
Well, one of the key things I think Captain Peoples talked about, the community policing. We don't have enough of that. Of course, at one point in time, the city had a police department, which now we only have a sheriff department, and that's been something that, of course, a lot of people have talked about, speculations of whether or not we'll have a police department, and if we was able to have one, of course, that'll provide us an opportunity to have a little bit more input on where those officers or the direction as far as the community goes, and where we need them, where they're most needed that. And I think that's the biggest key to control some of the crime. I think for the most part, when they see an officer presence, it deters those activities that may occur, and of course the criminals will decide to do something else or not even attempt to even try to do anything that will commit a crime. So I think that's just a lack of police presence throughout the community. Where once we had that before consolidation, so that's one of the key things. And second of all, of course, Hyde Park has been a big issue. We've been talking about that. Of course, we finally got something on the table, and it's in the works as we speak now. Of course, hopefully we'll have a report sometime in October on where we are as far as the grants and the monies that we are actually to borrow. And we're in a good position right now to deal with that. But along with that, in the Wilkerson Garden project, I think it's going to encompass that entire corridor as far as drainage and infrastructure. So it's quite a few things that need to be done. But we got some things done there. We got, of course, some road surface and resurfacing done, and we actually cleaned up the corridor of Gordon Highway and Southgate there. Got that hotel closed down, of course, and since then crime have totally, it's probably been 95% better there since that has happened. So a lot of great things has happened, and of course, like Mr. Williams said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in District 2. It's one of the worst districts out there, and of course, we just got to stay at it.
Well, okay, that's a busy agenda, and sounds like a lot has been going on in District 2. What's to convince voters that that Mr. Johnson isn't doing his best and that things aren't getting done?
Well, Brett, that's going to be left up to the voters. The voters are going to be able to make that decision. They knew what I had done in the 8 years I was there. Mr. Johnson had a time to show his voters what he has done. So it's going to be really left up to the voters. I don't think any seat ought to go unchallenged. There ought to be somebody to give us a choice. I mean, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a choice. So I'm offering the people a choice. I was willing to serve, and I think I serve. I think I serve well. But it's going to be up to the people to decide what they want to change commissioners or not.
Let's go back in time to when you were on the commission. There was a period, and you can tell me if you think this was reality or maybe it was just the way that it was perceived. There was a perception that there was a division on the commission, that there was an inability to move forward because of disagreements. Now you have a time when commission meetings are moving faster than ever. You have the appearance of civility and commissioners and the mayor getting along. Have we moved on to a different time, and was it as divided and as bad as many believed when you were there?
No, I don't think it is, Brad. I think the media puts out what they want. even here at the station, you know, the ratings is where the numbers come in. What the newspaper sells, bad news always sell. I don't think there's nobody's going to say that everybody gets along all the time. When I was on the commission for 8 years, we got 95% of everything on the agenda always passed. Every time we met, there was some things that we had to talk about, because there's some issues that my district was suffering with and not had. People want to say, well, you were very controversial and you talked, you kept the meetings going. But who wants to brag about how short the meetings are when you're supposed to be handling the taxpayers' money? The government belongs to the people. When you decide to be elected, you decide to work for the people. It's not very much pay, but you know the workers' hours is long.
Sure.
We need to be, not just to say, well, I'm going to hold the meeting up, but I hear the comments in the newspaper, and I hear people comment about how short the meetings are, but we don't know anything. I mean, when stuff is voted on, it's history, then it's gone. You, as a reporter, want to inform the community of what's going on. If you had a reporter, investigative reporter, and he didn't investigate, you wouldn't want him working for you and your station. You wouldn't be on the team with him. No. You want your reporter to check into and ask those questions, and sometimes they're uncomfortable with some people. But if they're legal, if they're fair, then it ought to be for discussion.
Mr. Johnson, what is it like behind the scenes? Do you feel that leaders on the commission and the mayor are getting along and moving forward? And are these short meetings a result of that, a result of people moving forward as a group?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think everybody has a pretty good relationship. I think one of the key things you have to establish when you get in there is respect. You know, you respect me and I respect you. And I think that's the first thing you had to accomplish in there. And second of all, I think the short meetings has been primarily, we know exactly what we're dealing with when we go before the commission. We hash it out, of course, in committee. And if we can't agree, then we of course postpone it. But for the most part, we know exactly what we're dealing with. And as far as trying to keep the people abreast of what's happening, you know, me personally, I've started trying to do of course, a quarterly breakfast, give people opportunity to give them an update and also get feedback from the constituents. And I think Mason does it as well in his district. But you know, we have to have means to do it. Unfortunately, we don't have, of course, the means to do monthly letters. You know, I would love to do that, but that would be a way to let people know what's coming up, what's going on, and keep them posted monthly. But you have to do the best you can with it. But you know, I think it's just a good time. You know, I think everybody respects the position. You know, of course, and I don't think it's something that we go in and say, yeah, we're gonna have the shortest meeting ever. But just based on what we've been able to do, we've been able to work it out and get it done. And it's been some pretty. We've had some instances where we had maybe 2-3 hour meetings, at least 3 hour meetings, and it hadn't gone as quick as most people normally have seen it in the past. But of course, it's very challenging, of course, and we realize sometimes we're not going to hash things out in one session. We have to go back and put it on the agenda again and work on it. So it takes time, but I think the respect is there for everybody. And one of the key things we realize is, you're going to respect me and I respect you. And of course, we understand that we're not going to always agree, but we won't sit here and just go back and forth with it. We'll deal with it within a reasonable amount of time.
Marion Williams, let me ask you this. Outside of District 2, and I'll ask you both this question, what would you like to see in the future for the whole city of Augusta?
But I really like to see Augusta, which is the second largest city in the state. I like to see the city be a progressive city. I like to see some things done in this city that had never been done before. We don't have an amusement park, we don't have a zoo, we don't have an aquarium. We don't have anything to attract people to Augusta except the Masters, and that's been a great economic boost for us. So we've got to do something different unless we're going to put on the back of the taxpayers to sponsor the city. I mean, everything takes money. We hear about we don't have money for landscaping, we don't have money to clean up, we don't have money to tear down. But what are we doing? In the 8 years I was there, I can't tell you one thing that the city decided to do that's going to bring revenue in. I hear talk about jobs coming in. We had ADP come in and different jobs, maybe 100, 200 jobs on a small segment. But we've got to do something, I think, to get this city moving to attract people to Augusta where they'll bring money in. All we going to put on the back of the taxpayer. We got to fund it. I mean, it's got to be funded. The taxpayers are doing the best they can do right now. We're talking about how dilapidated properties are. Those property values going down. Unless we can get those property value back up, then we're really going to be in trouble.
Do you want your drag strip still? Would you push for that?
Well, I think the drag was a great idea. I mean, I know about that sport because I was interested in that, and it's a money maker. The city was offered to spend like $5 million to generate a situation that's going to create $30 million or more. So if that'll work, I mean, if drag racing lawnmowers would work and they're going to drag people in, that's what we ought to be doing.
Sure.
We've got to do something, and we own 1,700 acres of land, been out there for 20 years, have not done anything with it. We got $1 million set aside for infrastructure for it, and we're still waiting. And I don't understand that.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Johnson, same question. What would you like to see citywide happen in the future if you're allowed to stay on?
Well, one of the key things we have to do, we have to generate some exposure, of course, to get some kind of economic development here. I've said it before, we can't keep putting it on the burden of the taxpayers. Ms. Williams, absolutely correct. And I've talked to the administrator and as well as my colleagues. We have to look at some entities, something that we can bring into the city to generate some revenue. I talked about an event with DDA and about Countdown to Downtown. We don't have anything going on from Christmas throughout the New Year's. Bring some of these people into Augusta. You got of course, Rennes, you got Waynesboro, you got Newberry, you got surrounding counties, Aiken County. People want something to do. Bring them into the inner city during the New Year's and pack out the hotels and have an event. We got the Augusta Commons down there. We do it for a lot of other events. Let's bring them into the city, generate some income that way. I mean, it could probably generate at least $1 to $2 million just in that particular couple of days itself. So we have to look at other ways to generate some revenue, and we can't keep putting it on the burdens of the taxpayers and of course sales taxes, because alone that's just not going to be enough to do it.
Well, I know that it is a busy time for both of you. Y'all are busy on the campaign trail. The election now is just weeks away. Are you all friends? Are you as close to Mr. Williams as you were 4 years ago when he was saying, please vote for Corey Johnson?
Well, yes, we are. We are still friends, and I know people are making a big deal about it, making it to be the bash of the, I guess, of the decade. But no, we are friends, and I have a lot of respect for him as well as what he's done and as a man, and I think the feeling is mutual.
You're okay with him?
I think it's great. I think that everybody needs some competition. This is not a personal thing. Politics is just strange, and my politics may be different from yours, Brad, or from Corey's, but my politics is my politics. The way I perceive, the way I see things. People have labor Corey Johnson and labor Marion Williams, but that's up to them. It's not what you call it, what you answer to. And I want to answer to serving the people. I want to be able to be a voice. If we had those economic developments, if we had the amusement park, a zoo, even that drag strip, people don't like to talk about. But those are things that are going to bring money in, and we got the room for it. So if we're going to take care of our citizens, and we're going to clean up with the sheriff department who need more men, and we have no resources, I mean, we got to have those resources in order to implement those things that you want to do.
Well, I appreciate it so much. Both of you have some important things to say. I'm glad that you all were able to spend time with us, and I hope that you all voters learned more about your decision when you cast the ballot in District 2. When the Means Report continues, we will tell you how you can help shape our future editions. How to get in touch with us.